The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. And they ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm about wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellows, Steve Johnson, Chris Sanders. What's good, fellas?
Nothing much, man. Back after another weekend full of fights.
What's up, Chris?
No, everything's good, man. Like he said, big fights happen last couple of weeks, so it's good. Good time for boxing right now.
Yeah, this is our first proper boxing show of the year. We know we did a quickie one a couple of weeks back, or about 3 weeks back, but there's a lot going on in the boxing world, so we had to give one to the people. But let's start off with one of the biggest stories in the past few weeks. Something I wish we got to go cover while it was still fresh, but we came around to it, so better late than never. Floyd "Money" Mayweather came out of retirement. Well, I think he announced, what was that, like 2 weeks ago now? And over the past 5 so years after he retired, he's been doing an exhibition, but no, he's fully out of retirement, gonna do an actual fight against his record against Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. And this is going down on September 19th at the Sphere in Las Vegas. But before that, he was supposed to be doing an exhibition match with Tyson, but I don't know if that's still gonna go down, but because it was reported a couple days ago that he's fighting a guy named Zambidis. This is going down on an exhibition fight. Actually, the guy is named Iron Mike Zambidis, not Iron Mike Tyson though, but it's an exhibition fight. I guess kind of get the rust off. But yeah, Floyd Mayweather back out of retirement. What are your first thoughts when you saw this story, Chris?
Not shocking.
Really?
Not shocking.
Okay.
It's a rival fight for him. He's been linked to Pacquiao, basically the better end of his career. We was watching what Pacquiao do, watch what he does. So I'm not shocking. There's a lot of reasons why he would want to put his record up. He's seen all these other fighters here, and he sees a chance where he could put some more to the tank. Well, he's 50-0, 51. What is he? 50-0, right?
50-0. His last one was against McGregor back in 2017.
Yeah, I think what he did to Pacquiao last time gives him enough confidence to feel that, he was bigger, he was stronger, he was faster. Pacquiao really couldn't hurt him. So it's kind of like an easy fight for him, if you ask me.
Steve?
I can say it's a surprise on the level of, when somebody does something and there's nothing wrong, and then people say, "Can you do that?" But they're not breaking any rules. As far as Mayweather interjecting himself for another one on his record to add to his professional record, it reminds me of, except Floyd on the other side. He left champion, which means, as long as you keep up to date with I'm assuming once you don't pay your boxing license and stuff, you get deranked. I'm not sure, but as long as he pays his boxing fees and left as a champion, I think he's available to challenge anybody because he's still the champ. It sort of reminds me of George Foreman, except he was on the other side trying to retain a championship belt, coming back from his old age. And I would say Floyd is on the better side of that Foreman situation because he left the champion. And
I would say, what do you mean by he's still a champ?
Well, he never didn't lose while leaving, so therefore, coming back to either be the first up for a champion or to defend his championship, what he left. I'm not sure if they're defending a championship or just a championship fight that another one of them have.
Nah,
Yes.
no, nobody has a championship. And in boxing, you could be the lineal champion if you never lose your belt in the ring. You can keep that lineal championship. But I think when it comes to retiring in the lineal championship, I think after a while, you don't even keep that anymore after a certain amount of time.
How long would that be? And how long has Floyd been out as far as his last professional fight to be, that negated?
I don't know. The rules are really kind of muddy when it comes to like retirements and that lineal championship, which is not like a real belt. It's just kind of like a theoretical. You gotta beat the champ to beat the champ. So I know when Tyson Fury retired back in 2015, he was still a lineal champ when he came back, but he was only gone for like a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And he beat I think Wilder he fought in his first fight back, or he fought somebody. Either way, he was still a lineal champion. Yeah, I don't even know if I don't think Floyd still even has that title, that figurative title left. So yeah, he definitely doesn't have like an actual physical belt. That's passed him by.
To give true, I would say it's a little weird because you're fighting an opponent that came off losses and really wasn't on the rise of, on a tear for even Floyd. But like I said, this might be a RHC title, and the RHC title to me is, retirement home championship going on here. But can be entertaining. It can be a personal debt to me that I think he's settling because Floyd's not, fighting anybody on the top of his weight class.
Yeah, when I first saw the news, I was kind of surprised because I thought at this point he'd just do like the exhibitions, circus fights, because he's made billions in his career. Then I thought about it. I'm like, man, he must be running out of money, not good with money, like you said, trying to handle a debt and running through that bag. So what do you think about that side of it, Chris?
That's a possibility. He's known for being Money Mayweather. I don't know his pockets. I'm sure he's not broke. I'm sure he has a lot more money than I ever probably would touch, but yeah, it could be a possibility. I don't know his finance. I mean, there was years ago about him and the IRS and stuff like that, but I think he's paid all his dues. I don't know anybody he owes, but he has a big spending pocket. Maybe it's that. It might not be the debts. Maybe he might see stuff that he wants to buy and be like, you know what? To get this money quickest way is the only way I know how to get it is by boxing, right? We all have our own jobs that we do, and that's the way we get money. And the way he gets money is by performing. So that could be a quick way for him to get. I don't know how much you think they're gonna make. How much do we know the purse of this?
That hasn't come out yet, but I can't imagine it being less than 75, 80 million.
You know what I'm saying? Where's Floyd gonna get that tomorrow at? So this is regardless of however we say he broke or whatever it is, if I can make $80 million, I mean, I'm gonna try to get $80 million, even if it is to almost ruin my career. My legacy is gonna be my legacy. This money is here while I'm here, so I'm gonna try to get the money while I'm here.
I just think he had the perfect way to bow out, especially with your actual boxing record, besides like the exhibition stuff, because he went out 50-0. I think he beat Rocky Marciano's record and whatnot, even though he beat it against not like a traditional boxer, Mayweather, Conor McGregor, but it was like the second most viewed pay-per-view ever behind his own record with Manny Pacquiao. I just feel like him coming back against Manny is saying that, it's probably a money thing. If he would have come back and he was like just wanted to test himself, like prove that he's the greatest of all time, if he were coming back against like Bud Crawford, I was like, okay, this ain't a money grab, even though the money comes along with it, of course. He's just actually trying to test himself. But him coming back against somebody we already saw him beat definitively 10 years ago, the rematch, like why are we doing this?
Well, let's look at it like this. Everything he's been doing the last since he's been retired has been a money grab. I mean, his whole career is a money grab. Let's just call it for what it is. It's all been a money grab. So him by doing expedition fights, he's been fighting. He's been boxing, right? He's boxed the Paul brothers. He's learning about boxing Tyson. So it's nothing like it's just another match to him. I don't think he's looking at it as we're looking at like, oh, it's to his record. To him, it's like, oh, this is what I do. This is boxing.
So then why not do an exhibition with Manny? Why do a?
I think if from my understanding, I think Manny's camp wants to do it for the record, to have some meaning to it. I don't think Mayweather is pushing for it to be on the record. They would do the expedition, but from what I was hearing, what I was reading, it's Manny's camp that's pushing for this. If you want this fight, it has to be like this. That's what I heard. I don't know. That's rumor.
But if you're Floyd, you're like, I'm the A side of this. I don't have to, give up all of these demands. I could just fight Tyson if I want to just get a bag for the exhibition.
But but like we just said, it's a different bag for Manny than it is for Tyson.
I don't understand why. It's because it's still a bag for Manny because we already saw it when they were younger, 10 years younger.
True. But it's a different bag. It's a bigger bag for Tyson. There's some fans that Manny had that felt like, Manny got the short end of the stick. He was, not at his best. He had a hurt shoulder, I believe, at the time. Injured his shoulder maybe weeks before the fight. There's a lot of excuse made from the Manny people. So this could be redemption. Like, let's see what he got.
I still think a hurt shoulder, Manny Pacquiao at 35, 36 is better than a 47-year-old Manny Pacquiao that's lost since then a few times. And
well, he's been active with real fighters, right? Manny hasn't.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked good against Barrios. Wasn't that a draw? We talked about that on here. He looked good against Barrios, even though we'll talk about Barrios in a little bit. Barrios didn't look good a week or so ago, but still, Barrios is a young guy, a champion. I don't know, man. I'm sure this will be an event. What's y'all excitement level on an actual fight once it gets around here? It's gonna be at the Spear. This will be the first boxing match at the Spear that I could think of. I know UFC did it once. So you think you'll be excited? Go ahead.
Is there a legit contract for this? Because we're saying September. September's a long way from now.
Yeah, I mean,
anything can happen at this time.
Of course, like with any fight, anything can happen. But for what I'm saying, it's like pretty much official. I don't know if ink has been put to the paper yet, but from what all reports said, this is going down on what did I say again? September 17th, September 19th. Sorry, September 19th. So I think it's that in Mexican Independence Day that he likes to fight on. So I don't know.
Those.
What's that?
You know him. He loved those days.
Oh yeah, he likes to throw on the sombrero and whatnot in the poncho. But like I was asking earlier, you think once the fight gets there, you'll be excited to watch it, and like I said, it's going down in that Spear. I'm sure the graphics and stuff will be pretty dope.
I mean, like I said, we saw this already. It didn't go well for Manny. I don't, like you said, I'm with you. I don't think a hurt shoulder would have did anything different. Floyd looked bigger than Manny that day. Floyd looked stronger. He looked quicker. It just looked like it was on two different levels. It looked like it wasn't even fair at one point. I was like, what are we watching here? And then, Floyd doesn't really engage like that. I didn't like we've been watching Manny. I love Manny. I think he's a really great boxer, but as he got better from that time to now, no. So I don't see him really beating Mayweather. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, as far as like X and O's, I don't think any of us will pick Manny in this one. But as far as excitement level, what's your excitement level to actually watch this fight, Steve?
Like I said, if I say something's better to watch than nothing to watch on TV, I could say I can look forward to it, but the matchup of the century, excited for it, not too much. Maybe if we never saw it between 10 and 15 years ago, we might be excited now, but we already saw product or production of their last fight. So there's nothing to be left in the mind for, imagination. We're kind of going off the last fight. So, I mean, it's okay, but I'm not totally excited about it, especially it's so far out. I'll probably be excited more it gets close to that time.
Yeah. Once it gets closer to the date, the trash talk going to start wrapping up by Floyd. how Floyd gets down. But before we move on to the next topic, I don't want to jinx him because, like I said, Floyd will probably win this fight. If he wins, though, and he feels good, you think he would fight another, fight against his record against somebody more legitimate, Chris?
Depends how much he makes of his purse. How much on pay-per-view in the Showtime, whatever it is going to be. I don't know.
It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. So
on Netflix. Okay.
Yeah,
they're getting a bag. Netflix is coming around with the bag, so they're getting a nice little purse with that. I don't know. Maybe he might test his water. There's some dangerous people out there, but if he beats Pacquiao and he does it convincingly, he might feel like he's the most dangerous person in the world at his age. We haven't seen him lose yet, so there's no one to prove that wrong. So he might go out there and fight someone else. I liked it, like you said. I'm a Floyd fan, and he went in the sunset the right way. He even got some money doing some exhibition fights at the end. I thought that was cool, just to get those off, to put the record back on the line. And I don't see what the real legacy is for at this point. Like, it would be different if he went against a champion right now and it was going against another a champion at this point. But to go against Pacquiao, maybe it's testing the water, and maybe he does want to do that later. But we'll see. Does I think he's gonna call out Bud? I don't know about that, but we'll see what he does.
I like to stir up the pot a little bit. What if in this fight, the hand speed is still there and the defense is still there, and he's like, I want to see what I could do against a Bud. What would you say to that?
I think we'll all watch that. But I don't know if it'll go the way he wants it to go at this time.
Even if the hand speed and the defense, Floyd's all-time defense still there?
Maybe at the same age, maybe like 10 years ago or 8 years ago. But right now, I don't know. Bud's a little different. A little younger. There's a little that young guy right there. I don't know. Bud might be too tough for him right now.
What do you think, Steve?
I would say that because you're not getting any younger. He would test that now with somebody younger, and wait till later to fight Pacquiao, because I think he's very analytical, and I think he's so much of an expertise that he can look at a fighter to see if they're in his caliber of speed, power. I think Mayweather, just by the sound of a punch, he can know how hard somebody's hit. So I think Pacquiao's is in his area as far as like age and strength, and maybe he has to test himself to see, okay, I'm at the brink of competing with these young dudes using Pacquiao as a litmus test. Let me see if I can compete with these younger or go for a title. But I think he would obviously did it. He's at his age now. What's holding him back for doing that and choosing to fight with Pacquiao?
Yeah. I mean, if he were to face like a Bud, Chris, you said you don't think it would end well for him. We know he's not gonna hurt a Bud Crawford, but what if he's just avoiding his shot, avoiding the big punch from Bud, and just doing what we see Floyd do best?
I don't think Bud's gonna knock him out either. I just think, from where they both started at, they came up in weight. Mm-hmm. But I feel like Bud been able to take on more weight and to go up even higher in weight and take on that power from more weight and do damage at that weight class. Pacquiao and Mayweather has went up from smaller weight classes and came up, but we haven't seen them deliver the big damage like they did when they was in lower weight class. Bud we see do damage at the lower weight class and almost bring that up into a very high weight class. We don't see that from the Mayweathers and the Pacquiao. So, he's able to bring his talent up there and have the same power and speed up there. Pacquiao and Mayweather just were able to have the speed up there. I didn't see them bring the power up. They was knocking everybody out the 120s, the 130s, the 140s. It got a little tricky. The 150s, they really didn't knock out too many people. Bud still can knock out somebody at 150.
So, all right, what if Mayweather was like, I think I'm better than Shakur Stevenson. Let me test myself against Shakur.
Stevenson has no other choice but to take that fight.
How you think Stevenson would fare?
He'll lose the fight because he doesn't throw enough punches. I think it'll be too much of a defensive fight. But I don't think
Really?
I'm talking about Stevenson.
You think Stevenson would lose?
I think Stevenson will lose the fight because he doesn't throw enough punches. I think
Floyd
it'll be.
Floyd ain't throwing like especially later on, ain't throwing a crazy amount
I
of
know,
combos.
but we don't judge. See, that's the thing that we don't judge Floyd for. We look at his fights, and for some reason, he don't get judged for not throwing punches. He gets judged by dodging more punches, and he gets judged for landing bigger shots. And I think that's what will help him win that fight. He gets graded on a different level than most fighters will get graded on for some reason. We've seen it. We'll look at a fight. He only throws 20 punches in a round, but he wins the round while the other person threw like 40, 50 punches. We've seen it all the time. His are more sharper, they're more cleaner, he's dodging more punches. So you're playing a defensive fight, and then you got the person that's out punching you or landing the bigger shots on you. I think Stevenson will lose that fight. He's not aggressive enough. I haven't seen him be that. He looks good when he fights, and he can outbox people, but I don't think he'll be aggressive enough with that killer instinct to kill Floyd and then to get him. He'll be too defensive minded.
I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I think they're both up to par with their skills, defensive but based off of veteranship, as far as Floyd, I think he's a better sequence thinker because of a veteran. And what I mean by is like you do things in steps, like 1, 2 jab, split to the left, right, and then roll out. Just by example, I feel like Stevenson, if it actually came down to a chess game, I feel like he would lose himself in the sequences to where Floyd knows where he is at all times to, counter a 3-4 step sequencer. And then we've seen Floyd dodge a 7-punch, 8-punch combination sequence and then roll out. I haven't seen nobody press Shakur like the many fights we've seen Floyd. He has it, but I've seen more complex combinations thrown on Floyd and him avoiding it to not give him his defensive credit.
So maybe I'm looking at it from a different scope because, styles make fights. And for some reason, I think Floyd may have a better chance against Bud than he would Shakur just because, Bud's a bigger puncher, but I feel like Bud would probably be headhunting a little bit and Floyd will probably make him be hitting air. And then the age difference too, because Floyd and Bud are only about 10 years apart. I feel like Shakur and Floyd are about 20 years apart. I just feel like age may come into factor when it comes to like a speed versus speed test. And Shakur probably be quicker to the punch, even though, like you said, they're both defensive fighters, even though Floyd probably has a little bit more pop. I don't know about a 49-year-old Floyd, but 39-year-old Floyd definitely had a little bit more pop. And like Christy said, he probably have the more damage, but I feel like it'd be a stalemate. Both of them probably won't be throwing. And when Shakur does throw, he might be slightly more quicker at this 20 years younger. So
I think that might be true, but I think we'll never see, like, Shakur would take, from what I've seen from Mayweather, Shakur might take more damage punches than Floyd Mayweather might take. I only seen a handful of times Floyd Mayweather get hit flush with a good shot. I don't see Shakur really putting himself in harm's way to do that against another defensive fighter like that. I think he'll be playing too much chess. That'll be a chess match. And that comment to be said would be like almost saying that Shakur's better than Bud. If I think Shakur would have a better chance than Bud would, and I don't believe that at all at this point. I don't think Shakur's better than Bud.
Yeah, well, Bud is retired himself, so this is all just hypothetical, just trying to have a little fun. But before we get into the fights that happened this past weekend and the week before last, one more story. Conor Benn was signed by Zuffa Boxing, and this one kind of stirred the pot in the combat sports world. Steve, tomorrow when we do the MMA show, we'll focus more so on the MMA side. I just want to kind of stick to the boxing side of things on this show. Split it kind of in two. So Zuffa Boxing signed Conor Benn to a $15 million one-fight contract.
Wow.
And yeah, And like I said, there's a lot of chatter in the world of combat sports, but Eddie Hearn, the famous promoter, he kind of was blindsided because he's been supporting Conor Benn in the past. He supported him when he failed that drug test like 3-4 years ago, and he ended up signing like a rival with Dana White and Zuffa. So them signing this big $15 million contract, you think other fighters might try to sign with Zuffa now, Chris?
Well, that's what they're going to have to do, sign for these big contracts. I think that was always a concern, right? People were always concerned about them not paying the big bucks that they're going to need to pay to get these fighters over there in boxing world. Well, we're just seeing right now that they have to pay the money to see us get these boxers over there. So they're going to pay the money like that. For one fight, $15 million, they're going to get a lot of fights over there.
Yeah?
Yeah, a lot of fighters are going to go over there. For $15 million one fight, yeah, why not?
So what if this was them just trying to like kind of bait fighters into trying to fight with them? Like they only plan on doing a one fight deal with this particular fighter. What if they're like other fighters or other boxers where they're like, all right, we might get dropped like a 10 million, but this is over like a 5-6 fight span.
Well, it's almost like what did golf? What happened to golf? Remember what happened to golf? The PGA Tour.
When they went to Live Golf and
Live Golf, right?
Saudi Arabia.
Live Golf, going after everybody, paying big checks to everybody, right? Yeah, then the next thing you know, you merged in with them, and now everybody's kind of like they didn't get the big check. So you was kind of like, I should have been the first one to join and get the big check with these people. Kind of like what you got to do in the beginning. You got to pay the big bucks to put a name out there to get it going. And then once it becomes even playing field, you're not going to see the $15 million checks no more. You'll be seeing maybe the 1 or 2, 3 million. But you got to get the people over there to watch. You got to get the eyes. So you got to pay big in the beginning.
Yeah, that's probably kind of way to like showcase yourself. And then, like you said, it's like first come, first serve. If you're in there in time, you're not going to get that bag. What do you think, Steve? You think we see more boxers sign to Zuffa?
Definitely. For definitely beginning fighters. I don't know about other promotions or how many fights you have to confirm in one contract for that promotion, but anybody that's one fight, 15 million, and then I'm not stuck to this promotion. That's a hell of a deal. And then after that fight, still move around if you have to. As far as like promotions, I know a lot of people saying that he betrayed, I'm not mistaken, Al Heyman.
Eddie Hearn.
I'm sorry. Eddie Hearn. But man, you gotta go where the money is and to feed yourself. And I think boxing is a whole economy you could take advantage of. And, how can you go wrong with 15 million one contract and not feel stuck in one place?
Yeah.
Question, fellas. How much has he made with Eddie Hearn?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's any numbers out there because Conor Benn, he's big over there in Europe, but he hasn't made a name over here in the States. And I've seen a couple of his fights, but
he's pretty good.
The level of competition that he's faced hasn't been there yet. So
I would say top B, A minus the fighters.
He fought Chris Eubank. He fought Chris Eubank twice and split it. He lost one and won one.
One was the second one was demolished, right? Then he almost.
Yeah, it was unanimous decision. This was back in November. But but besides that, like he hasn't really faced anybody. So that was like another reason why people were kind of shocked. Like this kid ain't really faced anybody yet. You're basically signing him on potential, and he's no spring chicken. I mean, he's young, but he's not super young. He'll be 30 this September. He'll be 30 September. He's 29.
He's on all the tattoos, right?
I can't remember his tattoo game.
Right.
I mean, let me double check.
Yeah.
He's tatted up. He's tatted up.
The other one was stronger, and he was a little smooth. Yeah, he's a decent fighter. He's a really good fighter, actually. I don't know if he's made 15 million.
He definitely probably hasn't.
I don't
made that in
think
his
he
career.
made 15. Yeah, I don't know if he made 15 million yet. So they signed him for 15 million one off. I think that's a good move by him because I don't think either of his last biggest fights would have got him 15 million together. If we're lucky, he probably was scraping 3 or 4 million. I don't know. I'm not watching, but I don't consider those two fights to be a big fight for 8 million apiece.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for one fight. He's a British dude, so he'll be able to buy a lot of fish and chips with that money, especially if he wins. So, but about this Zuffa boxing model in general, they came to kind of shake up the scene. A lot of people, kind of raised their eyes like if Dana White was into the boxing game. And one thing Dana wanted to do is like kind of make it uniform and not have all these belts. And they plan on introducing this cruiserweight belt this weekend. I guess you think that's a step in the right direction, Chris? It's a Zuffa cruiserweight belt. I don't know how much weight that holds within like the 4 major titles that are recognized as world titles, but
what was the problem with Shakur right now with his belt?
Shakur, something wrong with his belt?
Then he won a belt, but they tried to take it back from him from not making payment dues or something like that. What was that? Something like that.
I think that came across my radar, but I didn't click on it when and
that's the issue. Well, that's part of the problem right there. There's just too much control from the promoters, the people that own the belts. They and then we put it back into the fighters' hands where they can only fight in boxing maybe once or twice a year. They're not fighting that many times.
So
you're holding to this belt for so long. I feel like you need multiple belts, especially in boxing. I don't know about UFC, but in boxing, I feel you need multiple belts because these guys only fight maybe twice a year. And you need to see multiple belts. So adding another belt, to me, I don't even think it messes up anything. And it's another way for people to get money. And it's another way where we can see fighters probably cross because I think Dana will make some fights happen, right? The money's there. These promotions don't want to lose their cow, right? They don't want Stevenson versus the Tanks and Tank or this person and that person, all these big names, because if they lose, then you give all the power to another promotion. I don't think Dana White's looking at that. He's looking at, I want to bring the best fight to the people, and we're going to see the best fighting on our platform, where they're changing the game in the narrative of it. They're putting the narrative back into the promotion's hand, where I think right now is more into the fighters' hands, because the fighters in boxing are the big names, right? You just can't have a boxing match tomorrow and think everybody's going to show up because who's fighting for this belt? You got to have a name for that belt. Where Dana's going to put the best fighters right now at the time. So it can shake it up. I think it'll be great. I think it's a good way for people to make money. This guy's coming over to make 15 million for one fight. And that might not be his only one. He wins this, they got a relationship going. Let's do another one-off, so.
We'll see. But to elaborate on the story you brought up earlier with Shakur, this got announced back on February 4th. He got stripped. The WBC stripped him of that junior lightweight title, not junior lightweight title. It was the super lightweight title, 140. Basically right when he won it, because he did not pay $100,000 fee for the Lopez fight. And Stevenson, it just said he didn't pay $100,000 fee. It didn't say what type of fee. So I'm guessing it's just a fee, just to fight for the title. And Stevenson called them crooks. So now that I elaborated on that, what do you think, Chris?
I think you have to pay to keep the belt. I don't think the belt's free. So I think when you win the belt or when you have the belt, you have to, I don't know what the monthly is. I don't know the yearly is on that, but you have to pay to have the belt on you. There's dues to having a belt. So if you don't pay those dues, they can strip the belt from you.
That's wild. That's wild that the fee is so high though. 100,000?
Yeah, that's why I thought 100,000, man. How often do you have to pay that fee? Because that's something that happened to Bud too, if I'm not mistaken. That's the same thing. And I don't know if they're attacking Bud on that camp because he's in the same camp as him. So I don't know what's going on there. But if you don't pay your fees or your dues, they're gonna take your belt away. And that's why we have, what happened? You found it?
I said you're like it's in that same article. You're right. They stripped Bud Crawford of the super middleweight in December for the mandatory fees. Like that. That is some crooked stuff, especially if they're not really promoting a fight. It's just like a sanctioning body.
Yep.
That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah, I learned that when I was in the gym. People used to tell me, "Yeah, I got to pay these dues for this belt," and it was like local stuff, like the New England champ, or the whatever city you are champ. You got to pay these dues. I'm like, well, you paying dues for what? You dues won. You got to pay dues for that. Yeah, you want to keep the belt, you got to pay the dues to it. I'm like, you're not even fighting. Yeah, still got to pay it. So,
like
yeah,
that amount of money, that amount of money I'm paying for fees, that could go towards my taxes that I have to pay from my purse. Like y'all are
I
robbing
think you have
me.
to pay. I don't know exactly. Don't quote me. I don't know, but I don't know how often you have to pay that fee too. I don't know if it's a monthly, because I think it's a monthly thing. I don't know how often that big payment is that he had to pay. I don't know about that, but I think you have to pay monthly to keep your bill.
That's crazy. What do you think about this fee, Steve?
Well, just seeing how things changed over since when I first got into boxing and watching it. Not only the economy, I would say, uh, as far as the United States or just around the world has went up. You have to look at the amount of fighters that are not only available stars and that we known in the past. These fighters fight less, so maybe not only economy inflation but boxing inflation. I guess they want their money, so they're hiring up these fees for these fighters versus having all these multiple. These sanctioners, I guess, are hungry. I mean, we have multiple James Toney, Roy Jones Jr., Tarver, and all whole down the line of weight classes had a whole bunch of these fighters that we're looking at, to where I don't think it's coming as fast as it did in the 90s or the 2000s or the 2010s. So, they're punching it hard to anybody that has a name to capitalize off their championship.
Yeah. Like times have changed, the economy bad. Everybody's trying to eat nowadays. I mean, I kind of agree with Stevenson. That seems like kind of crooked, but everybody's hungry out in these streets. You want to say something, Chris?
I'm just reading some things.
Yeah.
Yeah, these bills, they're running. He's running these fighters 3% on the purse, and they're also collecting around $200,000 to $300,000 per bill. These are mandatory fees deducted from the earnings, and you must pay them.
So they say per belt. What does that mean? It's a one-time fee when you have the belt, or you have to pay it for every fight?
He said a
I
percentage
know it's
of
a purse. The purse is 3% of the purse, and then
Okay,
so
they're
the
just
bill.
preying on the ones who get paid the most.
But the fee is just a one-time fee. What was that, Steve?
I said, well, I'm assuming that, of course, they're going to prey on the star that's the biggest right now. It was Crawford. If he's getting paid, just guessing, $50 million for that fight, and these other fighters getting 15, like, well, we better get on Crawford's ass and make sure he fights so we can get a percentage of his 50 million. Versus, certain people getting 15 million, you get 3% of that. So you'll just be on the tail end of people who are stars, mostly.
And that's at every fight. So every fight they have to pay those fees. And it's for the challenger too. The challenger has to pay fees too, and they get deducted 3%.
That's crazy.
So challenging, you have to pay that for the belt fees, and you have to pay for 3% of your purse.
So I'm assuming that belt fee is just the one-time fee once you win the belt, and then they get the percentage of every fight you do with the belt at 3%. That's what I'm thinking.
They said this is mandatory fee deducted from every earning, applied to both the challenger and the champion every title fight.
Oh, that's crazy then. If you got to pay that fee every title fight and they get a percentage of the purse, yeah, they could have it then.
Could this be the reason why fighters are fighting less over the years? Or is that not enough money to even factor?
I mean, that fee for a Floyd fight where he's making 200, that's like pennies. But like for a fighter, if you're on your come up and you win the belt, like that's a hefty fee every fight.
Well, even if you don't win it, you still have to pay the fee to challenge it.
Yeah.
And they're taking 3% from you for challenging.
That's crazy. Well, now that I think about it,
2 checks to fight.
Now that I think about it, when I think that's why you see a lot of these fighters, because I think right now even it's some fighters that when they win the undisputed title, maybe a couple months later it'll be like vacated. At least one of the two belts be vacated. Like with Usyk, I want to say he's not even undisputed anymore. I don't blame them, man, because I always wondered that, like, why are they vacating these belts? But I guess now we know why.
Is anybody gave a pattern of resetting the bracket, so to speak? Like every time they win, give this shit up. I'll fight for the challenge it again. Every so to speak, championship challenge. They're the champions, but then they vacate the belt to challenge it again over and over. Basically, what I'm saying.
I want to say like Floyd wasn't like undisputed very much in his career. I know when he won a lot of the belts, like they be vacated pretty quickly. I don't know if it was every single time, but
you got it. It says right now with multiple belts, each fighter holds multiple belts. You have to pay them per each organization separately. And they all can take it from you. So think about it. You have 4 belts. They all take 3%, and you have to pay each one.
Yeah, I guess that's why you don't see people undisputed for a long time. Hey, maybe Dana White's onto something. Let's see this Zuffa. These Zuffa belts come into play, so get rid of some of these sanctioning bodies. That's why they're afraid of Dana. But that's crazy. But yeah, let's get into the fights though. Over the past couple of weeks, we'll start from most recent and make our way back to the ones that happened the weekend before last. But let's get into the one that happened this past Saturday, February 28th. When I was at Steve's the other day, I was telling him about Emmanuel Navarrete, like how he's one of my favorite fighters to watch at these lower divisions because the guy's got knockout power and he's not like a household name yet. I don't know if it's the language barrier because he's from Mexico. He doesn't speak English and he's kind of under the radar. You don't hear a lot of people talking about him, but now he's a 2-pelt winner, junior lightweight at 130 out there. Like I said, you don't see a lot of people with a lot of power, but Emmanuel Navarrete defeated Edward Sugar Nunez, 11-round TKO, and he retained that WBO junior lightweight title and won the IBF title. So he unified the belts. And in the early rounds, Nunez looked kind of game. He was using that jab to avoid some of Navarrete's shots, but Navarrete adjusted quickly. And by that second round, you saw Navarrete landing those flurries, landed that uppercut, and he stunned Nunez. And then in those middle rounds, the action picked up in the 5th or 6th round. It was kind of turned into a firefight. His success started dwindling a little bit. He tried to work that body, but Navarrete, that volume started picking up. And then in that 9th round, Navarrete landed that right hand with that uppercut, and you started seeing Nunez wearing that eye. I thought they were going to stop it, I think, after the 10th round because he could barely open that eye. And then finally, going into that 11th round, this physician checked that he couldn't open that eye anymore, and they called it off. And another finish for Navarrete. What are your thoughts on this one, Chris?
Nunez, man, very impressed, man. He's a fighter.
He's tough.
He's tough. Like he's like, if they didn't stop the fight, he would have stepped. He would be fighting right now to this moment. I ain't see no give up in that kid, man. So shout out to him. He made that fight. This was a tough fight. You know, this was, thank God for the TKO. I know that guy was saying on the other side because, man, that kid is just, he was biting down his mouth guard and just going right to him. Like he got through the jab, and once he got through the jab, it just seemed like it was a firefight, and it was just man versus man, you know. So it's a lot tougher fight than what people give it credit for. And Nunez, man, I was impressed with him. Just trying to be, he was short. Seemed like he was a little under sized for the fight, but man, his heart was there. So shout out to Nunez. That's my takeaway.
That Mexican style, 2 Mexican fighters, and we always hear about the Mexican style, and those guys actually put that to the show and showed why people talk about Mexican style being, you know, relentless and, like you said, biting down your guard and just going at it. What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, I think this was a perfect example of there's a thin line in having a strategy of countering and working on the outside. And over the time of the fight, it turned into backpedaling, which I felt like because of the power difference. Also seemed like a size difference, and seemed like Nunes would get his combinations off, maybe forward, but then it would be equalized with a big shot to reset his confidence level through the fight. And I think basically that's what happened. And you had two tough fighters, but you seen one with more power to deteriorate the person with damage by the time of the 10th round. It was easily seeable to see he was keeping the pressure on, but you can tell the confidence in the first rounds versus the last round as far as getting hit more and more, taking more risk and losing focus, so to speak.
So Chris, you think the stoppage was warranted?
Well, was it his corner that stopped it though?
No, it was the doctor that stopped it.
That was the doctor that stopped it, right? I couldn't.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you can't see from it, the damage is there. You got to protect the fighters at all times, right? You got to protect yourself. I know he's a Mexican fighter. They got heart. He would have two black eyes like that, so he will go on his sword. They'd rather get knocked out than go out like that. So I respect the culture for that, but you got to protect these fighters, right? There's always another time to live another day. You can get that eye socket jammed up so bad that you will never have another fight in your life. And I think the doctor has to look into it. Am I protecting this fighter from the fight? I'm protecting this fighter for his life, because we want to make sure he can fight again. So, you live to fight another fight. And I think he'll get another fight. He's a tough, scrappy guy. So I don't think it was pre-stop. I mean, it was the 11th round and his eye was shut, right? So want to protect the fighters.
So this is a problem that's more prevalent in MMA. You see in boxing that usually the corner stops it, when it needs to be stopped. But do you think his corner was kind of negligent? I think they could have stopped it a couple rounds earlier. You think his corner was kind of negligent in letting it go so far? Because there's no way he was going to win on the cards unless he got a lucky shot, which probably wasn't happening. He was getting his ass whooped most of the fight. So you think his corner was a little bit negligent on letting that go that far when he could have got permanent eye damage?
Yeah, I mean, you talk to your fighter, you get in the corner of your fighter, you listen to him, what he says. If he can understand the game plan, remember, they're still strategizing, right? You still got a game plan. You could be losing all those fights, but hey, this is what you need to do now. This is what you need to do now. I need you to do this. Can you do this for me? Then you can do this. And you see him trying to get close to it. As a trainer, you got to see, all right, we're almost there. We're almost there. We got one more round. And plus, you don't want to lose like that, right? You don't want to lose like that. You're already in 11th. I think it was going into 12th, right? It was already midway 11th.
I think it was going into the 11th, if I'm not mistaken.
Going 11th. You're already that far deep. You only got two more rounds left.
I think it might have been the 11th. I think it was like
no,
it was about to go into the championship rounds, and I think the doctor stopped it.
So you're in that last round. You made it this far. As a trainer, you can't throw it on your guy like that. That's how I feel, especially if has that dog in him, that fight in him. You can't throw it on him like that. If you can talk to him and communicate with him, and he has one more round in him, then as a trainer, you should let him go. But you have to also look at it. Can my fighter really fight? Can he see? And that, most trainers are not doctors, and that's why we have a doctor here. So that's his job to do.
I say you got to protect your fighter. I'd love to see another day, but I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I would agree. They could definitely stop the fight. I think I even heard in the commentary, Julio Chavez, I think it was in his corner.
Yeah, I think he was like on the side, maybe on commentary, or just sitting as a observer.
I think he was even saying, stop the fight, veteran can see it. I mean, I think people would know, or if you do have a fighter still fighting in there, I would say as a trainer now, you better show me that you can stay in here. If you get hit in that eye one more time, I'm taking you out. Have it based on the challenge of the fight that you trained for. When it gets to that, you got to give your fighter challenges to even stay in there to compete, because he's showing that he's just taking more damage. And I think trainers know their fighters, but I think definitely that would be a good tactic. You know, hey, you keep on getting hit on that eye, I'm gonna have to take you out or throw in the towel.
Yeah.
We've seen a fight like that. You know, there's a famous fight like that.
Which one?
I forgot his name right now.
Diego Corrales, you talking about that one?
Yeah, when he fought Floyd Mayweather, but then after he fought that, you know, he spit out his mouth guard a few times. You know,
well, he was Diego Corrales against who was the fighter that they said what was beat by Floyd. He said he should. The one of Floyd's first fights, he said he should have lost.
Oh, I remember hearing about that fight.
Hispanic cat.
What's that?
He's an Hispanic cat.
Yeah, the Spanish guy. I know that, but I don't know his name. But yeah, that fight right there. That fight is the sum of this fight, right? As a trainer, that his eyes right here, it should be stopped.
You remember his coach is like, "You better show me something," and then he got it out there, got the job done. That was one of my favorites.
They got the job done, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard when you know your fighter. He's that dog inside, and you know who he is. You got to give him a chance, man. It's for the doctors to figure that out, man. That's my always. I'm on the fighter's side. I'm on the trainer's side. We're gonna ride this out. We train for this moment. This is one of our biggest moments in our life. It's what we come to do. It's your job to not put yourself in that position, right? That's your job. You got in that position. Now you got to give it. You got to let the doctors handle that. That's their job to do. So, but your job not to take that damage.
Steve talking about Floyd against Jose Luis Castillo.
Yes, that's what I can't believe. It upsets me when I can't remember names. Yeah, that's who it is. And Diego fought Castillo, and he had a big mouse and a contusion on his eye, and you can tell every time he hit him, it hurt him, and he dropped him. And it was literally at the pivotal point of he was either going to get too many knockdowns and call the fight, or he's going to get hit and knocked down. And his coach is like, "You better show me." That's all he had to tell him. You better show me something. You know what time it is. And got them combinations off him, and they dug down there and got the win by KO.
One of the best comeback stories you ever watch that you can ever see. It's amazing to watch that fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, almost makes you think, did he spit out that mouth guard on purpose to get more time?
About a little bit more time every time.
Let me spit this out.
And they started getting on him for doing that, as far as like points and or disqualifying.
He was going for the win. It didn't matter about the points. He was going for the win anyway at that point. So
he was this close from losing it all. That close.
That's crazy. Yeah, like but still, I feel like it's very rare. Like somebody, with that much damage will come back and win it. I feel like you should probably stay on the side of caution and protect your fighter.
I got a question for you guys. Should we now change the rules of boxing and not go 12 rounds anymore?
Nah, you got to go 12 rounds.
Why you got to go 12 rounds?
What would be the advantages of going less rounds? I feel like,
Don't they already do professional 10 rounds too? Also,
10 rounds is non-title. 10 rounds is non-title.
Non-title.
Oh, the non-title 10 rounds?
Yeah, non-title is 10 rounds, and
I mean, the game has changed, right? Because back in the day, they was going what? How many rounds before? 16, 17,
like
18?
Yeah, like 15, 16.
Yeah, and we got it down to 12. 10. Why won't 10 won't be justified?
Nah, I feel like 10 is
beat for 2 more rounds.
I feel like 10 is warranted if you don't have a championship belt, and if you're fighting for championship, those championship rounds is where you test your mettle. It's 36 minutes. I mean, I can't do it. I can't even do 5 minutes, but 3-minute rounds. I feel like right now, if it ain't broke, no fix it. Now, if I'm hearing fighters that want to do it, that want to have less rounds, and it's like a big groundswell to shorten the fights, then yeah, but I hadn't heard a lot of problems with the fight's length. But what's your reasoning behind wanting to do it?
Like we're seeing a beatdown happen, right? And there's probably no chance of coming down back. You're up 8-2. You got 2 more rounds left. So we need the extra 2 rounds to figure out who won this fight. It's already 8-2.
I don't know. It's a tricky subject. I don't know what you think, Steve.
Well, yeah, it's like a Rubik's Cube. It's like situation can change. I mean, the way I look at that is, What if your only strategy is a Ali and a rope-a-dope, you know, and you got these you have a certain time frame for his body exhaustion to kick in, and then maybe you don't have enough time, maybe there's not enough time to tire. Well, then again, like, it's how you push the fight, but based off ratio, you know, maybe that's not enough time to download somebody. I mean, shit. A lot of times when people get their momentum, 12 isn't enough. Not saying to get more than 12, but I'm saying it would shift boxing and how you approach it if you were to do that, as far as how much stamina can be exerted in 10 rounds, or even ask a question like, on average, how long does it take to download somebody? You know, some people depend on your expertise and your mental on boxing. Maybe overall, you know, 10, and let alone, I also thought about, like, what if 11, because 10, you got like 12's an even number, but 10's an even number. Like, what if you need a tiebreaker?
Mm-hmm. I like that better. I like 11.
Yeah, 11 would be the tiebreaker for me.
Yeah, you got, because you know whoever won the most rounds. You had 12 rounds, 6-6. You can't figure it out, but, you know.
Not only the height, my bad. Not only the height of it of a fight. Imagine how many fights would go down to the 10th round, and then everybody's up on their feet. It's almost like a mandated death match. You know what I'm saying? As far as that 11th, and I think they would promote more excitement in each boxing match. Actually,
yeah, it's even. You're 5-5 right now. This is for the winner. You got to win it right now. You got to go hard this 11th round, and then we'll see the stamina. Then, you know, at 11th.
Might see a lot of KOs in the 11th round because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a happy medium. I feel like MMA has it right in that aspect. You got 3 rounds and 5 rounds. 5 rounds for championship fights, 3 rounds. And a lot of times it comes down to that swing round. So, yeah, maybe having an odd amount of rounds would be the best way to go. So, yeah, that's actually a good idea. But let's get into this next fight, fellas. This went down back on February 22nd. You had Clarissa Shields defeating Franchon Cruz Dezern by unanimous decision. And, you know, these two were going back and forth before the fight even happened. At the weigh-in, I think it was like a heated push around match and brawl type situation. But in the actual fight, Cruz Dezern, she started out pretty aggressive and she tried to make it a close range fight. But then, you know, Shields downloaded the data, and as the rounds progressed, you just saw Shields had the superior hand speed, and then that IQ took over. She was beating Dezern to the punch. She was landing those sharp combinations, was doing the body work. The footwork looked good. And then in the later rounds, you just saw that gas tank wasn't there for Cruz Dezern. She looked fatigued. She was all bloodied up. And it was a shutout. Shields won 190 on the judges' cards, and, you know, maintained her dominance, retained that unified champion. We talk about unified champion. She's still an undisputed champion, got all 4 belts, so she's probably paying that hefty fee we talked about earlier. What were your thoughts on this one, Chris?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it? Oh, no.
No, I didn't like it. I didn't like the defense from either party.
You didn't like Shields' defense, huh?
No, where was it? She used offense as defense, and that can help, but she took a lot of punches to the face. She took a lot of hits. There was no defense up. She didn't block nothing. She didn't slip over anything. She got hit once or twice, but she exchanged like 3 or 4. I was watching it the whole time. Yeah, she outlanded the girl, but the girl hit hard too. And Shields, shout out to her, she could take a punch. But man, why take all that damage? You know, you're watching it. I was
about to say, maybe she wanted to put on a fight for people over there in Detroit.
I get it. No, I get it. But man, she's taking a lot. Yo, if you look at that fight, she took a lot of damage. Even though she was up on the scorecard, And that's the thing. You're up on the scorecard. You know, you got to get that defense going. Get out the way. Boom, boom, box a little bit. You over there trying to knock this girl out, which I don't think she could have. I think this girl was very strong. She could take a punch herself. But, you know, she gave up a lot in that fight. That was a lot of damage she took for that. For that win, she was up a lot. And to take all that damage that she gave away, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I feel like she could have won that a different way.
Steve?
I mean, she's so talented in the pool she is. It's hard to take consequential accountability when it comes to women that you're fighting with that I feel like is out of her league, you know. And what I mean by that is I'm watching them fight, and it seems like Clarissa most of the time can mechanically punch better than her fighters. And she was throwing heat to where the other girl, you know, as far as power, her mechanics wasn't there. So saying that, I think if Clarissa fought a woman who knew how to mechanically punch, and not like some power fizzled out and within the other girl's mechanics, I think Clarissa would have got hurt. But like I said, she's out of her. She's fighting in a league of women now. I think she's, you know, hasn't found that opponent yet. Second of all, there's so many punches she was throwing heat that were wide open punches that she was choosing that were open but weren't landing. They're like wild punches that I'm like, she was right there but didn't hit her in the face. Like her face was open, and I feel like there's maybe because of competition, I don't know, but when I look at certain fighters, and not to compare men to women, it seems like the men are a little bit more accurate when those punches are available versus she was throwing them. And I felt like, sort of what Chris said, this fight could have ended in, I think, a lot earlier. I saw some she missed her a lot of times where she could have tore her head off, and she just wasn't being accurate. I'm like, she connects that short hook when she's coming in at the same time when she was doing the whole night. She should have just took her out, and I feel like she didn't. For her standards, she should have took her out.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's a knock on Clarissa Shields. She doesn't have the finishes there. That's kind of the spat between her and Layla. Layla, you know, brought to attention that, you know, I finished basically everybody and got a lot of decisions. But with that saying, Clarissa still claims that she's the GOAT, the greatest woman of all time. What's really left for her to do at this point, Chris?
She heavyweight? She's the biggest, right?
She went up to heavyweight. She was fighting at one. She's fighting at 160 for a lot of her career and 168, but now she's at heavyweight.
You just keep doing what you're doing. You're the champ. You know, you got all 4 belts. You know, you pay those sanction fees. You just keep going and going and going. You know, everybody got to bark up your tree. I just didn't like the defense. I felt she could have got her out of there. Like, you brought up a good point about, you know, the accuracy. I didn't even touch on that point. I was just upset on the defense. Just like, you're hitting this girl, get out the way. You shouldn't be taking this much damage back. You shouldn't even be getting touched by this girl. You're faster than her. You know, the girl could take a punch, the other girl, but man, Clarissa, I feel like you would have got her more tired, slipping punches, beating her up, getting out the way. She would have got frustrated. Then you would have got her out of there because she'd have been like, I don't want to deal with this no more. And then one good punch, knockout, boom, gone. I just feel like she made it look tougher on her for no reason.
Yeah, I thought a few times, like Steve said, a couple of punches missed where she probably would have got her out of there if she was a little bit more controlled with some of the swinging she was doing. But, you know, still pretty dominant victory. I'm guessing at this point, really only is like super fights really left for her. And besides chasing a Layla Ali fight, which I don't think Layla's going to come out of retirement. They offered her like 15, 20 million and Layla still didn't want to come out of retirement. So probably won't see that fight, but maybe like a Alicia Bumgarner. But I feel like at this point, Shields is just too big for Bumgarner because back when they were teasing it earlier, Clarissa was still at 160. And I think Bumgarner fights at like 140. So you probably could have met somewhere in the middle, maybe a 154 or maybe 164. Alicia, that might be still be too big. But Can you even make like a super fight like that at this point with the weight difference?
She's got to come up and weight and show us what she can do with those other weight classes, and then prove her weight that she can fight heavier. But it's still there. It's still a possibility. But like I said, Shields is in a good position. I mean, she's the champ. You got to beat her. Someone got to come up there and knock on her door. So she just got to keep doing what she's doing. Whoever they put in front of her, she just got to keep doing what she's doing. I just say work on the defense. I mean, I know it's there, so show us it. Show us that you can't be touched. Really space out the gap. Yeah, you win on the cards, but space out the gap.
I mean, she's still only 30, so it's not like she's long in the tooth. But Steve, what you think we might see her back in the cage? Because, like I said, I feel like she's running out of stuff to do.
I was just about to suggest two ways she can stay in the boxing ring and MMA ring in a multiverse that I'm imagining. If a few years ago, where Ronda Rousey was competing to saying she could knock out Mayweather, that would have been the perfect promotion for Ronda Rousey to slide in. Of course, Shields would have tore up in the boxing ring. And then I'm saying this because I don't see any fighters except Bombagard, her fighting her, but other than that, there's nobody else except what the men been doing. Crossover with Conor. I can definitely see now. Ronda probably doesn't want to entertain that. If she never got knocked out, I think she would have psyched herself up to some boxing. But maybe she can say, "Hey, I'll catch Ronda boxing and I'll get her in MMA too." Clarissa lost in MMA, so I guess it wouldn't be as bad. Plus, she wouldn't expect to get knocked out, so it's like if she does lose, it wouldn't be a knockout embarrassing situation. Probably be some shit. She's been submitted already. Clarissa probably lost. So I mean, that's the only money fight I can see. Anybody else is not big enough, not known enough for boxing. You almost have to bridge something that has to do with combat sports, and I think that's maybe some other female's going to have to impress the world to give her a stage to fight on her with.
Well, you just kind of put a thought in my head, an idea in my head. I don't think Ronda Rousey would step near a boxing ring to fight Clarissa Shields, but once Ronda Rousey destroys Gina Carano with this in May, what if Netflix tries to throw a bag and tries to set up like another MMA fight between Shields and Rousey? That might actually be interesting.
Oh yeah.
See that might be a possibility if they're talking about a big enough bag. Because the one fight that I think Shields was like 2-1 in PFL, and the one fight she did lose was somebody just held her down on the ground for the most part. Ronda has judo, but she doesn't like sit there and just lays and prays on people. She might rip her arm off though too. So, but still, that would be a big fight. So we'll see. They definitely got to go on the drawing board. I got a feeling, Chris, they might just keep throwing cans at her at this point if she stays up at heavyweight.
Just one more suggestion. I think it's important. I saw it before I came on. Promotion. Zuffa merged with WB and HBO and all these CBS. So I don't know if that's just for MMA. I think that might be for boxing too.
Yeah. They merged. They own the TV stations and they own HBO Max. So I don't know if that has any implications because I heard that they're going to merge HBO Max and Paramount Plus. So I don't know how that's going to work in the future, but we'll have to keep our eyes on that aspect of it too. But it'll be interesting to see. But let's move on to the fight that happened the night before this fight. Ryan Garcia defeated Mario Barrios on February 22nd by unanimous decision. He finally won his major world title. He's the WBC welterweight champion now because the fight he fought against Devin Haney, he missed weight that fight. And even if he didn't miss weight, he failed a drug test. So he finally won his first world title. And Garcia set the tone early, just 30 seconds into that first round. He dropped him with that sharp overhand right. I'm like, all right, I know what time he's on now. But the fight didn't play out like that for the remainder of it because Barrios recovered, but he just kind of looked thrown off once he got dropped like that. And he struggled with Garcia's speed and he couldn't find his rhythm. And, Garcia is known for that left hook, but he was using that jab instead, and he was using that right cross. And then for basically rounds 2 through 10, Garcia was dictating that pace, and he was using that footwork, using those combos, and he kept Barrios on the defensive side of things. And then kind of in those last 2 rounds, Garcia kind of coasted, but the fight was already in the bag, and he was able to secure that title. What are your thoughts on this one, Chris?
And Garcia was so confident this whole fight. I mean, he's always a confident fighter, but man, when he got that knockdown, it was like the light, like he knew he was going to win this fight. Right. And I was very impressed with his stamina. Stamina was there all throughout the fight. He was throwing a lot of punches. Like we used to the check hook. He threw more than just a check hook. The jab was coming out. The cross was coming out. The overhand right was coming out. I mean, he was throwing a lot of power punches. And to be honest, Garcia didn't look that bigger than his opponent that fight. So to see him coming in there, giving up maybe an inch or two, and body frame didn't seem stronger. He was in there throwing some heavy punches. It was like everything was with bad intention. Really, honestly, all his punches was thrown with bad intention. He wasn't setting up nothing. Everything that came through the middle was all power punches. And it looked like his opponent could not handle the pressure. And Garcia just looked, strong, calling out Stevenson, almost called out me, but, he stayed away from that. But, shout out to Garcia, man. He looked good.
I don't think Garcia wants that smoke. What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Mine is the fresh. It's not fresh on my mind, but from what I remember, like you said, that first knockdown literally was the tail of the fight, to where you get that first knockout, that other fighters just really probably not even mentally talking about points. You're taking mental notes, like I gotta get my hit back, and I mean, based off the rounds kept going, how much you got to catch up, like 2, 3, 5, 10. Like, damn, I got to catch up with 10 good punches to keep up with the score. And Garcia was just delivering on him. Better shot selection. If I'm not mistaken, a good selection of body shots too, digging in the body after a combo. Barrios, I mean, it's hard to compare. I mean, Pacquiao did good, but he looks, prestige with Pacquiao, and it's just look with Garcia. I think it was just a little gap of a now generation in the past, and maybe I don't want to take away his talent, but maybe he wasn't fighting the caliber. I can't think of the caliber of people, and just for joking purposes, maybe he cut off his hair, man, like Samson. I saw him in the fight. I'm like, damn, did he have long hair? But because I don't know Barrios like that. I'm like, maybe it's the haircut he got. I don't know. He had braids before this.
I mean, we talked about Barrios' last fight when he fought Pacquiao, and that was a draw against a damn near 50-year-old Pacquiao. So maybe he's losing his confidence a little bit, Steve.
Or maybe his confidence got falsely boosted after Pacquiao and came in there with a mindset. I feel like that's happened to a lot of fighters, not to drift off from boxing, but, certain people who fought John Jones and did good, kept that mentality, just got beat because thought you did something against a veteran or was close, and then you kept that with you and you got destroyed with a younger fighter. It just throws off the measuring system, so to speak.
But I think Barrios going into that Pacquiao fight, I don't think he was happy to be there. It was expected of him to wash the floor with him because he was going into it thinking he was facing a washed up Manny Pacquiao, and I feel like his confidence would be kind of taken away because he's supposed to win that fight easily. He was like a heavy favorite in that fight.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Maybe, and he had to drop the fight before that too. So I don't know. Maybe, yeah, his confidence is shaking up a little bit. I don't know. Your thoughts on that, Steve?
Oh, probably so, because you know, although these are all good fighters, and I'm not saying any of them are trash. I mean, but Rolly Romero beat Garcia, and I don't think Romero's a bum, but like, how good is Barrios if he can't beat Garcia, and Romero's getting beat from time to time, right, and beat Garcia.
Yeah, Rolly Romero lost to Tank Davis, of course. Everybody loses to Tank Davis, but he lost to Pitbull Cruz too.
And to me, that's just a little smirk on your record right there. Just as far as the type of person you lost to give Barrios some type of litmus skill test of where he is. Like I factor in the Romero wins, what he should have won, and just to scale him. If you can't beat him, then and Romero beat him. I mean, where are you in the skill set of these people?
Yeah, I just don't really see that killer instinct from Barrios. And I mean, Garcia's finally living up to what people expected him, because he was basically like, he wasn't like on the level of Jake Paul, but he was like almost like a social media pro fighter. He wasn't like one of the social media turn boxers, but you know, he's gone viral a lot and known as a pretty boy, and people were expecting him to probably win this title maybe a little bit sooner, but he's finally, living up to expectations. You think he can keep his head on straight, Chris, and keep this momentum going?
Gotta keep him fighting again. I mean, you only leave him out the ring for like maybe 3 months and get him back in the ring to keep him up, keep him back to fighting. But I think he's building off his confidence right now. This is a big win for him. His last fight he lost, right? He lost not Pitbull,
Rolly Romero.
Does David Haney give him a fight back? Does Haney give him a rematch?
So during this fight, the Navarrete fight, you had Haney talking in between rounds. I think he talked after the night round. He said that's the fight he wants. He wants to fight Garcia next.
Yeah, because regardless if he got a 0 there, we all saw what happened. Meds, no meds. The image is in my face on him losing that fight. So he got to redeem it regardless of whatever they found. I saw the image. And that's what, that's why they gave him back to 0, because the damage is done. But they got to run that back.
Well, no, you can't just brush away to the side that, he was on meds and he missed weight. I feel like that's literally an advantage if you on the juice and you miss weight.
I mean, that's part of, I don't like the med part, but missing weight, I mean, fighters do that all the time. What are they gonna say? Oh, find me, right? That's not professional. But I think this gave him confidence. Haney didn't look good in the fight. Weight or no weight, or there's still some skills that got to be there, and he didn't look good throughout the fight at all. With Garcia. So yeah, it didn't look good. So at the end of the day, we'll see if the meds or anything, the weight had a big difference. But I got in the ring and I destroyed you last time. So and Haney remembers that. So we'll see if he goes in that ring and shows a different Haney. But last time I checked, Garcia in his mind, like, I beat you, so I'm gonna beat you again. And I did what I did. You can't stop the check hook. So
I think Haney looked good in his last 2 fights. The Times Square fight, the same one that Garcia lost on, Haney against Ramirez, and then the last one against Brian. I think he looked real good against Brian Norman Jr., but Brian Norman Jr., I don't think he's on that level. He's on that level, yeah. So I'm guessing you're saying a rematch would go the same way as the first fight, Chris.
Unless they show me something different. I'm traumatized of what I saw in the first fight, so they gotta show me something different.
What do you think will happen, Steve, in a rematch of Devin Haney and Garcia?
I think the seed's already implanted of the loss. Even if you did blame it on the enhancements, you're still thinking of like, well, how much did that help him? And how much does he still have talent to still be? All that gets in your head, especially when you lost to somebody in that fashion. I think Garcia has more of an advantage mentally coming into this fight than Devin Haney, definitely.
You think he has an advantage just because of the first fight?
Yeah, because if we would have saw Garcia lost, then we can say, oh, he's decreasing, or in which he overcame, Rolly Romero loss. But if he would kept on losing, we would say it was because of steroids. But he's staying consistent with good fights and winning them, to where we're starting to see, okay, this is 2 fights in, 1 loss, bounce back with a win this one few weekends ago. How much was it, the steroids?
What do you mean? How much? Like the CCs that he was using?
Well, I think what he's trying to say is, we see him lose a Tank. He fights you next. He beats you. Okay, he was on the juice. Cool. We see him lose again. Then we see him win again. So we can't even really judge Garcia right now where he's at, right? We're trying to figure out where he's at. So how much was it really on the meds of him beating you, or did he actually beat you? Like, we don't even know right now. Like, it's still, Garcia is one of those fighters right now, which is really good for him right now. Like, he can really sell the fight. It don't matter no more. Like, if he wins or lose, he can sell this fight. It's not about the records for him. So he's in a really good situation where we don't know. All right, he lost. Did he lose? Or did he lose because, or did he win because he was on the meds? But we saw Garcia beat this guy. So how much was that because of the weight in the meds, or how much of that he actually beat him because of talent?
The world will never know. Like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? I don't know, because who knows? I don't think he's popped hot before that. I don't think he's popped hot since that. But what if he's like, I need this extra boost to beat Haney, so these drugs I'm taking are gonna help me train harder and give me that little extra oomph that puts me over the edge? Because it wasn't like he didn't stop him. I think it was like I think he did drop him a few times in that fight.
Dropped him a few times though.
So maybe that extra little meds that he took helped him, get the little upper hand on him. So who knows? There's no way of quantifying it. But hey, cheating is cheating, man. And so I'm curious to see what happens in a rematch, because I think Haney might get him, man. Not stop him, but I think Haney will learn. Haney's a smart fighter. I think he might.
Really smart.
I think he might download the information and get Garcia, but I don't know. One last thing before we get out of here. You think Garcia is just putting on the show? Because he seems to be talking a lot about religion in his interviews, and then in the same breath he'll drop a couple curse words. So you think it's just like an act, or you think he's really got his shit together, Chris?
I don't know. He might struggle for some mental health. It's not uncommon for people to have mental health. And for him, he might have a little bit there and here. He has to be a little crazy to be putting on some gloves and go fight against somebody. You got to be a little crazy to be a warrior like that. So there's got to be something with you. But, I just hope he gets the best help he can, and I hope he got the right people around him to get him there. And like you said before, cheating is cheating. So I don't condone him cheating. But, we see the check look good this time. We saw what it did against Haney. So I don't know. I'm kind of with, Haney might not have the mental upper hand in this one. He might have to really go in there and prove to himself that he can win. I think Haney got to prove to himself that he can beat him.
Yeah, so I'm thinking they'll probably have that sometime third quarter. Hopefully they get that done. And I don't know. I might change my mind a few times before the fight gets put on the books, but it'll be interesting. And like I said, I like to see fighters thrive. So hopefully he doesn't get into the shenanigans. We saw what he said, some stuff he said years ago and stuff, and said some wild stuff in the past. So I know he's got a kid. So sometimes kids make you grow up. So we'll see what happens with Garcia going into the future. But that brings us to the end of the show. Like I said, it's good that we finally got a proper boxing episode on the books, but we'll be back probably in sometime in April, because we got some fights coming up in March. Towards the end of March, we got Fundora Sebastian Mondoro, we know the 6'6" middleweight, and he's facing this your guy, Keith one-time Thurman. That'll be a fun fight. We got to talk about that. We got the Deontay Wilder fighting April in London against Chisora, and then we got Tyson Fury coming out of retirement the week after that. So we'll be back to cover those sometime in April.
What does retirement mean?
I mean,
take a break.
Yeah, just taking a break.
No retirement, man.
It was a skit on like MTV. Somebody was doing a Jay-Z impression. He was like, "I didn't retire. I said I was tired."
That's it.
You see rappers retire. You see boxers retire. It's basically all the same thing. They come back a year later with an album. Fighter come back a year later with a fight. So it's all entertainment. But yeah, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars, cause it's live.